Listen to me. There are moments in your life when God whispers a warning into your spirit, a quiet but firm instruction that says, do not share this. You may not understand why at that moment, but the older you grow in faith, the more you realize God protects not just your blessings, but your silence. The voice of God is not always loud. Sometimes it comes as an inward restraint, a divine caution that tells you some things are not meant for human ears. Because not everyone who listens to you is for you. Not everyone who smiles at you can handle the weight of your destiny. Some things lose their power the moment they are exposed. Some blessings die in the mouth of overexposure, and that is why God said, never share these 5 things. My beloved, many people destroy what God gave them by talking too soon. They announce what God wanted to conceal. They open their hearts to those who only came to take notes, not to celebrate. Every time you speak too freely, you make your soul vulnerable. God works in silence. He shapes miracles in secret places. And when you open your mouth before the right time, you invite spiritual interference. This is why the wise guard their tongue like a treasure. Because what comes out of your mouth determines what remains in your life. There are seasons when silence is not weakness. It is wisdom. It is protection. It is obedience to the instruction of God that says, keep this between me and you. The first thing God says never to share is the depth of your spiritual life. Your walk with God is sacred. It is a covenant between you and Him. When you begin to expose it to others, when you tell people how you pray, when you fast, how often you spend time with God, you invite pride and comparison. You allow others to measure your relationship with God by human standards. But no one can truly understand what happens between your spirit and the Almighty. That is holy ground. It is not for display. God does not bless the showy heart. He blesses the hidden one. The one that prays when no one is watching. The one that weeps in silence. The one that worships not for applause, but out of pure reverence. Protect your intimacy with God. Let no one enter that room. It is your sacred chamber, the source of your power. Once you share it, you dilute it. Once you expose it, you weaken it. You must understand, not everything holy must be public. God treasures secrecy, because that is where authenticity grows. When you pray in silence, He rewards you openly. When you walk in obedience, He honors you privately. But if you turn your intimacy into performance, you have traded the divine for the temporary. Many people lose their spiritual authority because they cannot stop talking about what they are doing for God. Remember this? Real power doesn't need to announce itself. Light does not make noise, yet darkness flees from it. The strongest believers are often the quietest ones. They don't talk about how often they pray. They simply carry the peace that proves they do. The second thing God said never to share is your future plans. There is danger in revealing too much too soon. Not everyone will rejoice at the vision God has placed in your heart. Some will envy it. Some will resist it. Some will attempt to destroy it. Your vision is like a seed. When planted, it must stay buried to grow. If you dig it up too early to show people, it will die in your hands. God operates in seasons. What He shows you in private is meant to be prepared in silence before it is revealed in glory. When you speak before time, you abort the process. When you talk too much about where you are going, you give your enemies a map to follow you. Many people are fighting battles that were never meant for them, simply because they could not control their tongue. They exposed their next move, and the enemy used it against them. God may have told you to start a business, write a book, build something great. But that does not mean you should tell everyone. Some people cannot handle the light that shines from your destiny. They will misunderstand it, criticize it, or attempt to destroy it. That is why God often hides your preparation season. Silence protects the plan. Wisdom guards the seed. Remember, Joseph's greatest mistake was not dreaming, it was sharing the dream too soon. And because he shared it, his brothers tried to kill him. Your dream must first be tested in silence before it can be celebrated in public. When God gives you an idea, nurture it like a newborn. Feed it quietly. Strengthen it privately. Let your actions speak louder than your words. You do not need to convince anyone about what God told you. Time will prove it. When the right season comes, the same people who doubted you will witness what God was doing in your silence. God is not slow. He is strategic. He is not late. He is preparing you. Learn to stay silent until He says no. Because when God reveals it, no one can stop it. The third thing God said never to share is your weaknesses. Every person has battles they are fighting, temptations they are overcoming, and struggles they are managing. But not everyone needs to know your inner war. Some people will use your weakness as a weapon against you. Others will pretend to comfort you only to gossip about you later. God tells you to confess your struggles only to those who are spiritually mature. Those who can pray for you, not those who will prey on you. Never confuse sympathy with spiritual strength. Some people's advice will lead you further from God, not closer to Him. Protect your soul by guarding your vulnerability. There are people who appear friendly, but they are spiritually unclean. They feed off your pain. They rejoice when you are down. That is why God warns you. Be careful who you talk to when you are weak. In moments of struggle, talk to God first. Cry to Him. Pour your heart out to Him. Because only He can heal without judging, restore without exposing, and strengthen without shaming. The world does not deserve access to your sacred wounds. What you battle privately is what God will use to bless you publicly. Some of the greatest victories are born out of private wars. Your tears in secret will become testimonies in the open. But until God completes the process, stay quiet about your weaknesses. Silence is not denial, it is divine strategy. Let me tell you this, not everyone is anointed to carry your truth. Some will hear your story and twist it. Some will take your weakness and broadcast it. That is why you must build spiritual maturity. The wisdom to discern who can handle what. When you speak to God, your words are safe. When you speak to man, you risk being misunderstood. Learn the difference. God never asked you to share everything. He asked you to trust Him with everything. There is a holy strength in restraint. The wise do not speak out of emotion. They speak out of revelation. The fourth thing God said never to share is your acts of kindness. when you give, when you help, when you bless others, do it quietly. Do it as if no one saw. Because the moment you seek attention for your good works, you lose the spiritual reward. The value of kindness is not in being seen, it is in being sincere. God sees every hidden act. He hears every silent prayer. He remembers every unseen sacrifice. You do not need human validation for divine actions. The applause of people is temporary. The recognition of God is eternal. Some people help others not because they love them, but because they want to appear holy. But God is not impressed by age. He is moved by intention. When you give, give in silence. When you forgive, forgive in your heart. When you help, do not announce it. There is greater power in doing good quietly than in shouting it loudly. The world praises the visible, but God blesses the invisible. What you do in secret carries more spiritual weight than what you display in public. The last thing God said never to share is your personal life, your relationships, your private affairs, your family issues. These are not for public discussion. The more you speak about your private life, the more you invite unnecessary spiritual attacks. God protects those who honor privacy. He hides them under His shadow. The more people know about you, the more they can influence you. Protect your peace by staying mysterious. The less they know, the stronger your spirit stands. The devil does not attack everything. He attacks what he knows. When you expose too much of your personal life, you give him information to use against you. Silence is your shield. Privacy is your fortress. Let your actions reveal your strength, not your words. When people cannot figure you out, they cannot control you. That is divine wisdom. God did not call you to explain yourself to everyone. He called you to walk faithfully, quietly, confidently. There is a sacred beauty in keeping your life hidden in God. When the world sees you silent, they think you are weak. But when God sees you silent, He knows you are wise. You have learned that not every truth needs a voice, not every plan needs an audience, and not every blessing needs an announcement. The greatest souls move quietly, but they move powerfully. When God begins to elevate you, He often begins with silence. He isolates you. He separates you. He closes certain doors, removes certain people, and silences certain voices around you. Why? Because where He is taking you, not everyone can come, and not everyone can be trusted with what He is placing in your spirit. You must understand, when God gives you divine instruction, it is not for public debate. It is for private obedience. Some people miss their blessings because they expose their preparation too early. They share divine secrets with people who do not carry divine discernment. God's whispers are not for every ear. When He speaks to you, it is sacred. Handle it with reverence. The silence of God is never empty. It is full of meaning. It is His way of saying, I am working. You may not see movement, but something is shifting in the unseen realm. And when He asks you to stay quiet about certain things, it is because He is aligning what your eyes cannot yet behold. You must trust His timing more than your desire to be understood. There are blessings that grow best in obscurity. God hides the roots before He reveals the fruit. He buries greatness before He brings it to light. If you cannot embrace hidden seasons, you will never walk in revealed power. The greatest manifestations come after the longest silences. There are those who cannot understand your silence, who think your quietness means you are lost or uncertain. But God is saying, be still. Let me prove what you cannot explain. Silence is not the absence of movement. It is the presence of divine preparation. God works most powerfully when you stop trying to explain yourself to people. Let them think what they want. Let them misunderstand. Let them talk. You are not here to be understood. You are here to be obedient. When God tells you not to share something, it is not because He wants you to hide. It is because He wants to protect. When you obey that divine restraint, you are not being secretive, you are being strategic. Silence is spiritual armor. There are battles you win simply by refusing to speak. Words can open portals, silence can close them. Every time you share something sacred with someone unprepared, you risk contamination. People carry spiritual atmospheres, and when they speak into your plans with disbelief, jealousy, or doubt, they release energy that can delay what God is doing. That is why sometimes after sharing a good thing, you suddenly feel discouraged or drained. It is not a coincidence. It is a spiritual reaction. Not every listener is a supporter. Some are silent saboteurs. My beloved, do not let curiosity destroy your covering. The human heart loves to talk. We feel the need to express, to be understood, to be validated. But those who walk deeply with God understand that silence is a form of worship. It says, God, I trust you more than I trust my tongue. When you hold back your words, you are holding on to faith. You are saying, I do not need to explain what you are doing because you will reveal it in your time. When you stop seeking approval from others, you open yourself to divine favor from God. The world celebrates exposure, but God celebrates discretion. In a generation where everyone wants to be seen, God still blesses those who hide themselves in His shadow. When you stop trying to make people understand what only God can reveal, you begin to live above the noise of this world. Some of you are frustrated because you've been misunderstood, betrayed, or mocked after opening your heart. But hear this truth: what you shared with men, you should have kept for God. He never misuses what you give Him. He never gossips, never mocks, never turns away. When you tell God your pain, He heals. When you tell people your pain, they judge. That is why He said, bring your burdens to me, not to them. When God asks you not to share something, it is an invitation to intimacy. He is saying, I want you to trust me more than you trust the world. He hides certain things from people so that your dependence will rest fully on Him. If everyone understood you, you would never seek His voice. If everyone agreed with you, you would never need His guidance. So when God isolates you, He is not punishing you. He is protecting your purpose. The quiet seasons are divine classrooms where God teaches you lessons that crowds cannot hear. What He tells you in secret becomes the foundation of your authority later. You see, silence builds spiritual strength. It trains your spirit to discern. When you don't rush to speak, you allow wisdom to form. When you don't rush to prove, you allow God to move. Many people destroy their miracles because they speak in haste. They explain what they should have prayed about. They announce what they should have nurtured quietly. And in doing so, they lose what was meant to grow. But those who master the art of silence move with power. They do not need to talk about what God is doing. They carry it in their presence. There is a deep truth here. God does not reveal His mysteries to talkers. He reveals them to listeners. The more you talk, the less you hear. But when you quiet your spirit, you begin to perceive divine signals. You begin to sense direction, timing, and divine instruction. Silence is not emptiness. It is spiritual tuning. It aligns your heart with the frequency of God. You cannot receive revelation while you are broadcasting your thoughts to everyone. You must first empty yourself of noise before God fills you with wisdom. Every great destiny has a secret place attached to it. Every person God uses greatly has learned to stay hidden until He says, "No, look around you." The strongest trees grow silently. The sun rises without shouting. The ocean moves with calm power. The greatest forces in creation do not need noise to prove their might. So why should you? Be still. Let your peace speak. Let your results announce what your mouth does not. When the time comes, the world will see what God has been building in silence. You must also remember that some silence is not just for protection. It is for preservation. There are blessings that are too sacred to be discussed. When God blesses you, be careful how you talk about it. Some people will pretend to rejoice, but inside, envy will burn. Not every blessing must be shared. Some are meant to be cherished privately between you and God. When He gives you peace after a storm, thank Him quietly. When He heals your heart, praise Him silently. When He promotes you, be humble. Because the more you talk about your elevation, the more attention you attract from forces that do not wish you well. Humility is the key to keeping favor. You are not meant to advertise everything God does. He did not bless you to boast. He blessed you to glorify Him in spirit and truth. And true glorification often happens in secret. You can honor God without revealing the details of how He blessed you. People do not need to know every miracle. God does. The reward of silence is sustained favor. The more you protect what He gives, the longer it lasts. The moment you expose it for validation, you weaken its power. And sometimes God tells you not to share because He is still shaping the blessing. What you think is finished may still be under construction. If you expose a building too early, it cannot withstand the weight of the world's opinions. But if you let God finish His work in you, when it is time, you will stand unshaken. Silence gives God room to complete what He started. Talking too soon invites interference. Listen, there are dimensions of wisdom that only silence can unlock. When you stop explaining yourself, you begin to understand yourself. When you stop announcing, you begin to receive revelation. And when you stop defending your destiny, you allow God to fight for it. There is power in restraint. There is majesty in mystery. The more you allow God to conceal you, the greater your unveiling will be. Do not despise being hidden. That is where giants are made. That is where true faith is formed. When no one knows your story, but you still remain faithful, God takes note. When you choose not to speak even when you could, God writes it down as obedience. Silence is a sacrifice few understand, but heaven honors it deeply. Every time you hold back from oversharing, you are saying to God, I trust your process more than my emotions. The people of shallow faith need to be seen. The people of deep faith need only to be known by God. The deeper your connection with God grows, the quieter your spirit becomes, because you no longer seek applause. You seek alignment. You no longer need validation. You need revelation. You no longer desire to be understood. You desire to be directed. That is spiritual maturity. And that maturity begins when you learn to keep what God said in your heart and not on your lips. You see, every secret instruction God gives you is a test of trust. He is asking, can I trust you with divine information without you seeking human confirmation? Those who pass this test rise to levels only dream of, because God cannot entrust his next instruction to someone who cannot keep the first one quiet. If you speak prematurely, you prove you are not ready for the next level. God shares his mysteries with those who can hold them. Silence is not emptiness. It is evidence that you are ready for responsibility. And when the day comes that God decides to reveal what he has been doing in your life, no power, no person, no opposition can stop it. Because what is born in silence is sustained by God himself. He will make your fruit so visible that those who once mocked you will have no choice but to honor what he has done. So keep your silence sacred. Guard your plans, protect your intimacy, preserve your peace. When God says, do not share this, he is not withholding, he is safeguarding your future. My beloved, let these words settle deep into your heart. God's instruction to stay silent is not a punishment, it is a promotion in disguise. When God tells you not to share, it is because he is entrusting you with something too powerful to be handled carelessly. It means he has chosen you to carry mysteries, to protect divine wisdom, to be a guardian of sacred things that cannot be exposed to the unprepared. Silence in obedience is not emptiness, it is maturity. It is your spirit saying, God, I value what you've given me more than I desire to be understood. There comes a moment in every believer's life when the test of faith is not in doing, but in saying nothing, in waiting quietly while God works, in resisting the temptation to explain what only time can reveal. That is where true strength is forged, not in the noise of activity, but in the discipline of trust. When you learn to let God finish his work in the hidden places of your life, you become unstoppable. What grows in the soil of silence cannot be uprooted by the storm of words. You must understand silence is not weakness, it is spiritual strategy. It is the language of those who walk with God in secret. The more deeply you walk with him, the more you realize that divine power moves in stillness. The ocean does not announce its depth, yet it commands awe. The wind does not shout, yet it moves mountains. So it is with the soul that lives under divine restraint. The quiet one who knows when to speak and when to stay silent walks with authority that cannot be explained, only felt. There are blessings in your life that will only survive if you protect them with silence. There are dreams that will only grow if you water them privately. There are wounds that will only heal if you keep them between you and God. And there are miracles that will only manifest if you stop explaining them and start expecting them. The moment you trust God enough to close your mouth, you open the heavens over your destiny. God cannot move freely in the life of someone who keeps leaking his plans. But the one who learns to hold his peace becomes a vessel God can trust with greater things. When God hides you, it is because he is shaping you. When he silences you, it is because he is strengthening you. Every hidden season is holy ground. It is where God refines your motives, purifies your desires, and deepens your discernment. You may feel overlooked, but you are being observed by heaven. You may feel forgotten, but you are being prepared. God never wastes a hidden season. He is teaching you how to keep what others lose, how to treasure what others take lightly. Do not rush out of your quiet place. Stay there until God says, now. Because when that moment comes, everything you hid in silence will speak for you. Your growth will speak. Your peace will speak. Your progress will speak. God will make your results so visible that no amount of noise from your enemies will be able to silence what he has revealed. You will not need to prove anything. Your fruit will prove everything. That is the power of divine timing. You must train your heart to be still, because in stillness you will hear direction. In stillness you will sense correction. In stillness you will receive revelation. The one who always speaks misses the whisper of God, but the one who waits quietly hears secrets no crowd will ever hear. That is why silence is sacred. It tunes you to the frequency of heaven. When your heart becomes quiet, you start hearing the soft voice of God saying, do not fear, I am with you, I am working. And remember, God does not owe explanations, he gives instructions. Your responsibility is not to understand everything, but to obey completely. If he said, do not share this, then trust that his protection lies within that command. You may not see the danger he is shielding you from, but one day you will look back and realize his silence saved you. His restraint preserved you. His instruction secured what your words might have destroyed. So walk in quiet strength. Let your peace become your testimony. Let your silence become your statement of faith. In a world obsessed with exposure, choose the path of sacred concealment. Let others seek attention. You seek alignment. Let others chase validation. You chase revelation. You are not ordinary, you are chosen. And those chosen by God must walk differently, speak differently, and sometimes not speak at all. Never forget, the power of God flows through the humble, not the loud. It manifests through the hidden, not the exposed. Every great destiny begins in silence, grows in obscurity, and is revealed in divine timing. When the world finally sees what God was doing in your hidden season, they will be astonished. They will say, how did this happen? And you will simply smile, because you know the secret was silence, and the silence was obedience. So guard your tongue, for it is the gate of your destiny. Guard your plans, for they are seeds of your future. Guard your spiritual life, for it is the source of your power. Guard your kindness, for it carries eternal reward. Guard your privacy, for it is the fortress of your peace. Speak when God says speak, and stay silent when God says be still. Because when you align your tongue with His wisdom, nothing in this world can steal what He has appointed for you. When you master the art of holy silence, you master the flow of divine favor. You will move quietly, but powerfully. You will live privately, but prosper openly. You will speak less, but your life will preach louder than words. Because God Himself will make your silence echo across generations as testimony that obedience is greater than expression. Keep this truth in your heart. Silence is not the absence of sound. It is the presence of God. And when God fills your silence, He fills your life with peace that no one can disturb, wisdom that no one can imitate, and favor that no one can explain. So walk quietly, move wisely, guard sacredly, and let your silence speak of a soul fully surrendered to the voice of God. For those who can stay silent when God says, do not share, will one day speak when God says, now declare. And when they do, their words will shake the world. My dear friends, you may have walked through years of pain, years of confusion, years where nothing made sense, years that felt stolen, wasted, and broken beyond repair. But hear this prophetic truth deep in your spirit today. God is about to restore every wasted year of your life. The time you thought was gone forever, the opportunities you thought you missed, the relationships that slipped through your hands, the seasons that felt barren, unfruitful. None of it is beyond the reach of God's restoration. What you call wasted, God calls waiting. What you call loss, God calls preparation. What you call failure, God calls foundation. There comes a moment in every believer's life when God steps in, not to give you what you lost, but to give you something greater than what you lost. And that moment is now. You are standing on the edge of divine recovery. You may not see it yet, but heaven has already written your comeback story. God is not intimidated by how much time has passed. He is not limited by what people did to you, by the mistakes you made, or by how old you've become. Time does not control God. God controls time. And when He decides to restore, He does not merely replace, He multiplies. You see, the human heart often mourns over what is gone. We replay the years that slipped away, the chances that faded, the people who walked away. But God is not in the business of rewinding your past. He is in the business of redeeming it. He can take 10 years of wilderness and turn them into 1 year of abundance. He can take a decade of delay and compress it into a single divine moment that shifts your destiny forever. When God restores, He does not give back what you had. He gives back what you never imagined you could have. There are seasons when it seems as though your life is moving backward. You work hard, but nothing grows. You pray, but doors remain closed. You sow, but there's no harvest. It feels as though everything you built has fallen apart. But my friend, the silence of God does not mean the absence of God. When nothing seems to be happening, everything is actually being prepared. The unseen hand of God is aligning circumstances, shaping people, and arranging opportunities for a divine recovery that will shock you. You may not understand why you went through that heartbreak. You may not understand why that business collapsed. You may not understand why those years felt wasted. But God says, I allowed what broke you to shape what's coming next. You could not see it then. But every tear, every disappointment, every delay was a seed sown in the soil of your destiny. Those tears were not wasted. That pain was not wasted. Those lonely nights were not wasted. The God who watches over your life does not lose count of what you've endured. And now, He is about to make the enemy regret ever touching your life. When God restores, He does not ask for permission. He does not check the calendar. He does not consult your past. He simply speaks a word and everything begins to align. The very places where you once cried will become places of laughter. The people who mocked you will have to watch you rise. The doors that were closed will swing open by divine authority. What you thought was over is about to begin again. God is about to redeem the time, renew your strength, and rebuild what was broken, stronger, greater, and more glorious than before. Do not think for a moment that God has forgotten you. You have not been overlooked. You have not been abandoned. You have been hidden. Hidden in preparation for the season of restoration. Hidden because your foundation had to be strengthened before the weight of your blessing could be released. God sometimes delays because He is building something eternal. He allows the years to seem wasted so that when the restoration comes, no man will be able to take credit for it. Everyone, it was God. You must understand this divine restoration begins not with what God gives you, but with what God awakens in you. The first thing God restores is not your finances, not your relationships, not your opportunities. It's your faith. Because once your faith is alive again, everything else begins to rise. God cannot restore through a heart that has given up. He restores through a spirit that dares to believe again. You may have been through failure after failure, but this is not the end. God has written something powerful into your story that is about to unfold before your very eyes. The same God who created time can reverse it. The same God who spoke worlds into being can speak life into the ashes of your past. The same God who turned a barren wilderness into a river of abundance can turn your years of loss into years of overflow. God never wastes a wound, never ignores a tear, never overlooks a heart that has been faithful in silence. You've cried long enough. You've carried that burden long enough. It is time to stand up in the authority of faith and declare, my wasted years are being restored by the hand of God. Restoration does not come through wishing. It comes through alignment. You must align your mind, your words, your expectations with the truth of what God has declared. Stop talking about what you lost and start speaking about what's being restored. Stop focusing on who left and start thanking God for who's about to arrive. Stop rehearsing your pain and start declaring your purpose. God cannot fill a heart that clings to what's gone. Release the past and make room for what's coming. Some of you think your time is over. You say, I'm too old. I missed my chance. I wasted my youth. But God says, I am not limited by your age. I am the restorer of years, not moments, not opportunities, years. That means the years you spent wandering, the years you spent grieving, the years you spent trying to figure out who you are. God can compress all of that into one divine season of overflow. When He restores, He pays back in multiplied measure. What took others 20 years to build, God can give you in 2. What was delayed for a decade, God can manifest in a day. You may not understand how, but you will see it happen. God can cause people to favor you out of nowhere. He can cause lost opportunities to find their way back to your door. He can cause your name to be mentioned in rooms you've never entered. The same God who orchestrates the movements of galaxies is orchestrating the details of your restoration. He can revive what you thought was dead and breathe new life into the areas you gave up on. Every time you thought you were losing, God was actually saving. Every closed door was a redirection. Every disappointment was divine protection. You thought you were being delayed, but you were being developed. God was maturing your faith, sharpening your discernment, and deepening your dependence. Because when the restoration comes, you will not just enjoy it, you will sustain it. God will not give you a blessing that your character cannot carry. He will not restore something to you that your spirit cannot manage. That is why the waiting has been so long. That is why the silence was so heavy. But now, the preparation is over. The season of restoration is here. There is a sound rising in the spirit. It is the sound of chains breaking. The sound of tears turning into laughter. The sound of barren places becoming fruitful again. The sound of time being redeemed. God is rewriting your story. What was once a testimony of pain is about to become a story of power. What was once a season of emptiness is about to overflow with divine abundance. Your life is about to be a public display of what God can do when He restores a person completely. Do not underestimate what God can do in 1 year of restoration. You've had years of waiting, but 1 year of divine acceleration can make it all make sense. One move of God can reposition everything. The job you lost, the relationship that ended, the season that dried up, all of it can turn into a testimony of restoration overnight. You must keep your faith alive, because faith is the magnet that attracts divine recovery. Every tear you cried has been counted. Every prayer you whispered in the dark has been heard. Every sacrifice you made in silence has been recorded. And now heaven is ready to respond. The time of hiding is over. The time of weeping is over. The time of restoration has come. God is about to shock you with what He is about to release. You will look back and say, now I understand why it had to take so long. You will say, now I see why those years felt wasted, because God was preparing something beyond imagination. There will be no trace of your former pain. The same way a wound heals and leaves behind only strength, your restoration will leave behind only glory. People will look at you and see not the scars, but the strength that came from them. They will ask, how did you recover so quickly? How did everything change? And you will know deep within your spirit, it was God. No man could have orchestrated it. No logic could have explained it. It was divine restoration. You must rise now. Do not stay in the place of mourning. Do not let regret be your companion. You have mourned your lost years long enough. Stand in faith. Lift your head high and declare, God is restoring me. Speak it until your atmosphere changes. Declare it until your heart believes it. Prophesy it until it manifests in your life. Because what you speak in faith, God establishes in reality. When God restores, He does not begin from where you stopped. He begins from where you should have been if nothing had been stolen from you. He recalculates your destiny, not to bring you back to zero, but to propel you forward into divine compensation. The years the locust has eaten, the seasons that were drained by pain and confusion, the time that seemed swallowed by regret, God remembers every detail. He remembers every year that slipped away, and He is not restoring just for the sake of balance. He is restoring to reveal His power and faithfulness in your life. The hand of God will move so swiftly that those who once pitied you will stand in awe of what He has done. There are moments when you will feel as though everything is too broken to be repaired. You will look at your life and see fragments, pieces of dreams, shattered hopes, lost opportunities, and wonder how anything good can ever rise from it. But the power of God works best in the broken. Restoration is not about gluing the pieces together. It is about creating something new out of what was shattered. God does not simply fix what's broken. He transforms it into something stronger, something more beautiful, something more enduring. The cracks in your story become the very places where His light shines through. You must understand, God allows loss not to punish you, but to position you. He allows things to be taken away, not because He is cruel, but because He is clearing space for something greater. Some doors had to close, not because you were unworthy, but because they were too small for the person you are becoming. Some people had to walk away, not because you failed, but because they could not go where God is taking you. When you begin to see through divine eyes, you will realize that nothing was wasted, not the pain, not the silence, not even the mistakes. Everything that felt wasted is about to become a part of the masterpiece God is painting with your life. Restoration is not just about regaining material things. It is about reclaiming your identity. Somewhere along the journey, pain tried to redefine you. The voice of disappointment told you that you are not enough, that your best days are behind you. But God says otherwise. He is restoring the strength of your heart, the clarity of your purpose, the purity of your faith. He is breathing life into the parts of you that stopped dreaming, the parts that stopped believing, that grew numb from waiting. You will not merely survive what you went through, you will rise from it with a new authority, a new confidence, and a new vision for what's ahead. Sometimes God allows you to lose everything to remind you that He is your everything. When all else is stripped away and you find yourself standing alone, that is when divine intimacy begins. That's when you begin to understand that restoration begins not with the return of things, but with the return of God's presence. Once He is with you again in the fullness of your faith, everything else begins to follow. The blessing follows presence. The overflow follows obedience. The restoration follows surrender. Do not despise your waiting season. The years you call wasted were actually years of preparation. God was planting roots in your soul that no storm could destroy. You were not stagnant, you were being fortified. You were not forgotten, you were being refined. You were not delayed, you were being developed. The deeper the roots, the greater the fruit. And when the time of restoration comes, the fruit will appear suddenly. What seemed delayed for years will blossom in days. God will make up for time in ways your human mind cannot calculate. The wisdom of God is beyond comprehension. You see the pain of the moment, but God sees the purpose of eternity. You see what was taken, but God sees what's being multiplied. When you thought you lost something valuable, He was protecting you from something harmful. When you thought you wasted time, He was cultivating divine timing. When you thought you failed, He was teaching you to depend on Him fully. That is why, when restoration comes, it is not a simple replacement. It is redemption infused with revelation. You will not just receive what you lost. You will understand why you lost it, and you will praise God for the wisdom behind it. There is a divine principle at work. God restores only what has been surrendered. The reason some people never experience restoration is because they keep clinging to what was. You cannot receive new oil while holding on to an old vessel. You cannot walk into your next season with the weight of your last one. Let go. Release it. Hand over your disappointments, your regrets, your what ifs and if onlys. When you surrender your past, God sanctifies your future. When you let go of what you think you need, God gives you what you truly need. And when God restores, He does it publicly. The same people who saw you weep will see you rejoice. The same voices that mocked your downfall will witness your rise. The same circumstances that once shamed you will be the backdrop of your glory. Restoration is not silent. It is a testimony. God will make your restoration a message to others that nothing is ever too far gone when He is involved. You will not need to explain yourself. Your life will explain it for you. Some of you are asking, when will it happen? How much longer must I wait? But remember, divine timing is not human timing. God restores when your heart is ready to carry the blessing without idolizing it. He waits until your motives are purified, your priorities are aligned, and your faith is mature. When He restores too soon, it can destroy you. When He restores at the appointed time, it completes you. So instead of asking, when? Start asking, how can I align? Because the moment you align, the floodgates of divine favor will open. Do not underestimate what happens when God breathes upon a dry season. What was empty can overflow. What was silent can sing again. What was lost can reappear with greater beauty than before. You may think your story is over, but in the eyes of God, it has just begun. Every failure, every tear, every moment of confusion is a sentence in a greater story of redemption. And when the final chapter unfolds, you will see that it was all working toward restoration. Some people only know God as the Creator, but you are about to know Him as the Restorer. You are about to experience the side of His nature that takes ruins and makes them radiant. You will understand why He allowed the walls of your life to crumble. Because He wanted to rebuild them with His own hands. When God rebuilds, He fortifies. When He restores, He beautifies. What once embarrassed you will soon empower you. What once broke you will soon bless you. Do not fear the empty places. God begins every miracle in emptiness. The universe began in darkness, yet God spoke light into it. Your life may look dark right now, but darkness is the canvas where His glory shines brightest. The emptiness you feel is the space where restoration is about to grow. Do not run from it, embrace it. Because in that emptiness, God is preparing the soil for your greatest harvest. Every delay is divine choreography. Every closed door is strategic redirection. Every no you received was a sacred protection. You thought you were being rejected, but you were being redirected towards something better. You thought it was over, but it was only beginning. The God who restores is never late. He is precise. Every second of delay has purpose. Every pause is a setup for acceleration. When His timing collides with your preparation, restoration becomes unstoppable. And when it comes, it will come with peace. You will no longer strive for what you once chased. You will not have to manipulate, beg, or force things to happen. The same doors that refused to open before will open effortlessly. The same people who ignored you will seek you out. The same situations that drained you will now serve you. Because when God restores, He restores order. Everything begins to flow in divine rhythm again. You are not forgotten. You are being positioned. You are not behind schedule. You are right on divine time. God has seen your endurance. He has seen how you refused to give up, even when everything seemed lost. He has seen how you kept believing when there was nothing left to believe in. That faith has reached heaven, and now the wind of restoration is blowing in your direction. The same wind that parted seas will part your obstacles. The same hand that raised the humble will raise you. Do not be surprised when people from your past reappear, not to harm you, but to honor you. God will use even those who hurt you to bless you. He will make peace where there was once conflict, favor where there was once rejection, and victory where there was once defeat. Your restoration will not come from where you expect. It will come from where God ordains. He is not limited to your plans. He is the God who brings water from rocks and bread from heaven. He can use anything, anyone, anytime, anywhere. Restoration also brings responsibility. God is not just giving you back what was lost. He is trusting you to steward it with wisdom. The same pain that once humbled you will now keep you grounded. The same tears that once weakened you will now make you compassionate. The same silence that once tested you will now become your strength. Restoration without transformation is temporary, but restoration built on divine wisdom is eternal. So rise up, shake off the dust of your past, walk into the new season with faith that burns brighter than your fears. Let your heart sing again. Let your spirit believe again. Let your mind imagine again. Because what is coming is not a repetition of your past. It is the reward for your perseverance. The wasted years were not wasted at all. They were invested by the hand of God into your future harvest. And now that harvest is ready. Your story is not over. It is being rewritten by the author of time. The pen is in His hand, and He is crafting a new chapter, one filled with beauty, joy, and divine fulfillment. You will wake up one day and realize the pain has turned into peace, the delay has turned into destiny, and the loss has turned into laughter. That is the power of God's restoration. And now, listen deeply, because this is the hour where the Word of God becomes reality in your life. You have carried the pain of your past long enough. You have replayed those wasted years long enough. God is now speaking into the very soil of your destiny and commanding it to bring forth life again. The years that were consumed by confusion, the seasons swallowed by loss, the time that seemed barren and fruitless, all of it is being restored under divine order. This is not just another message. This is a declaration over your future. God is about to restore all your wasted years. You will soon see the signs of it. Doors that were long closed will begin to open without effort. People who once turned away will look for you again, not because of who you are, but because of what God has done through you. Situations that once embarrassed you will become your greatest testimonies. The same places where you once cried will become altars of thanksgiving. You will look back and realize that nothing was wasted, not even the waiting. Every tear watered a seed of breakthrough. Every loss cleared the ground for new growth. Every disappointment redirected you toward divine alignment, and now what you thought was over is being reborn. God is breathing upon your life with a new wind of strength, peace, and restoration. The days of confusion are over. The nights of fear are over. The season of restoration has come. Do not fear the future. God has already walked through it. Do not mourn the past. God has already redeemed it. The pain that once crippled you will now empower you. The time you thought was gone forever will now serve you. You will live to see the purpose behind every closed door, every delay, every heartbreak. God has not forgotten even a second of your suffering, and He will repay you in full. Walk in confidence. Walk in expectation. Walk in peace, because when God restores, He restores completely. Nothing missing, nothing broken, nothing wasted. The years that seemed lost will come back in divine acceleration. What you are about to receive will not just replace what was taken. It will exceed it. You will know that every second of waiting was worth it. Because when God restores, He never gives back the same. He gives back better. So lift your head high. Stand in faith. Speak boldly over your life and say, my time is not lost. My destiny is not delayed. My years are being restored by the hand of God. And as you say it, let your heart believe it. Because your faith is the key that unlocks restoration. Your surrender is the soil where miracles grow. And your perseverance is the seed that brings forth a harvest no man can take away. The story of your life is not ending in loss. It is rising in restoration. What God is about to do will silence the voices of doubt, break the chains of regret, and release the fragrance of divine favor all around you. You will step into days of peace so radiant that the memory of pain will fade. You will carry a joy that cannot be stolen, a wisdom that cannot be shaken, and a strength that cannot be broken. And when you look back, you will not see wasted years. You will see divine preparation. You will not see emptiness. You will see the faithfulness of God written across every season. The very years you called wasted will stand as witnesses to the glory of God in your life. So go forth with peace, with faith, with fire in your spirit, because God is about to restore all your wasted years. And when He does, your life will never be the same again.